This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this will be like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? Leave a rating and a brief written review. It will enable others to be able to locate this podcast. I'm also looking for the next level leaders that I can come alongside and coach and help in any way that's possible. And if you'd like to see what the possibilities are of that happening, please go to drronblake.com/call, drronblake/call. You'll get on my calendar and I'll give you a call and we'll see what the possibilities are. Today I want to ask you something and talk to you about this particular matter. What you measure really does matter. For this reason, for whatever you measure is what you have put a priority. Your priorities are not what you say they are. Your priorities are not even the things in your vision or mission statement. Your priorities are the things that you get done. And you'll not know if you're getting them done if you don't have a measurement. Early in the beginnings of my days of endeavors, we had some metrics that were handed to us. Now, how effective they were is a debate for another day, but we knew what it was we were to measure. And interestingly enough, we oriented ourselves around what we were measuring. Now, there could be a sense in which that is quite backward. In fact, it is every organization has to determine what is singularly important, what are the things that we are about. I mean, this could be for your family or yourself. What really matters to you? What are you really willing to give it all for? Why are you doing what you're doing? And then you have to say, if these things are truly, truly important, then I have to find the matrix and the metrics with which to measure them. So let's just talk about this. What you measure matters for one simple fact. What you measure is what you continually go back to and what you examine. So for your own personal life as well as the organization or where you work, what you measure matters. Now, number one, let's define success. There is no one be-all, do-all, know-all, one definition of success that fits everyone. Mother Teresa's idea of success, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s idea of success, and a multi-billionaire's definition of success would more than likely be quite different. So, first of all, if you don't come up with your own definition of success, someone will come up with one for you. And their definition of success would be getting you to help them achieve what they're trying to achieve. I'm not today trying to tell you what your definition of success should be. For some, your definition would be just to meet my expenses and to do the best that I can do. Now, again, that's a rather broad and difficult to measure because however you're defining success, you are then going to have to, after you have done that, define how you will know when you have gotten there. What will success look like? How will you be absolutely certain when you have arrived there? This is not just a little 90-second exercise. You have to define. If you're a person of faith, well then that will be somewhat helped defined for you. If you want to interpret it physically, financially, emotionally, it doesn't really matter. It's just that if you're going to measure what matters, you have to, at the first of it, begin by understanding what really matters to me. What am I giving my life to? What is important? Now, the second is, in order for you to measure what matters, not only do you have to define, understand, and know what success is going to look like, you're going to have to, number two, make sure you're self-aware. We talk about self-awareness often, and it is utterly amazing how many people have next to little self-awareness. Our ability to handle life's challenges, and yes, you and I are called to handle challenges, will be the measure of the strength of our character. So if we're going to have to be measured against handling some of the challenges, I need to be aware of myself. Can I tell when I'm getting anxious? Can I tell when someone does something or says something that pushes my buttons? Can I tell when I am greatly slipping into the area of reacting rather than responding? Am I aware that when I'm speaking and when I'm doing, how people around me are responding? Am I aware of my influence in the atmosphere and the spirit of my organization? One of the people that we have to work on, my sisters and brothers, is ourselves. All of us have room for improvement, and we need to be aware of how and what we do and the effect it not only has on others, but the effect that it can have on our family, our friends, our co-workers, and so forth. So what you measure matters. You obviously have to define success. You have to be aware. And then you have to ask some how are questions. And just as you need to define what success looks like for you, you're going to have to define that what are the how ares of your life. Again, if you're a person of faith, your faith. Are you so busy taking care of everyone else's issues and problems? Are you so busy of trying to be successful in this area and that area that you're starving your faith? Well, are you a success in faith? How is your faith doing? Is it blossoming? Is it growing? I think you could go on and ask the same question about your family. Are your family being neglected? Now, my friends, I understand that there are seasons in our lives in which it is difficult to balance everything equally every day of every week. But you cannot go for a very long period of time and keep work out of balance to everything else, including faith and family. So don't neglect your family. And when you're on a vacation and you're on a holiday, spend time with them. Make sure you build into your time, into your calendar, time for the significant people in your life, which is, of course, your family. And I would also add their friends. Don't neglect relationships. I don't know very many people who their definition of success is I'm going to ignore God, my family, my faith, my friends. How are they doing in relationship to all this? If you are in any kind of a leadership capacity in any organization, you ought to ask, how are the people in my organization? Are they feeling appreciated? Do we provide opportunities for them to give feedback? Do we provide opportunities for them to grow and stretch and to become better? I mean, I think you have to sit down and have some of these, what are the how ares? Because if what I measure matters, then I need to understand what it is I'm about, what I'm trying to accomplish, what I believe, what my purposes are. Now, number 4 is contentment. Now, you're going to say, where did that come from? Contentment comes from the fact that I put a good day's work in, I do the things that I'm supposed to be. The one measure of your success will be the degree to which you build up others who work with you. While building up others, you will build yourself up. And the contentment doesn't come as a selfish realization, but a realization that everything in my faith, my finances, my family, my friends, my worker, my job responsibilities, they are going well. That's how Contentment comes from the 5th thing that I'm going to ask you with what you measure matters, and that is alignment. So many people have the most beautiful mission statements. There are a few people who have showed me their goals, and they have charted them, and they have built them, and it is beautiful. But then their everyday actions and the actions they take on a regular basis have almost next to nothing to do with their goals, their values, and what they say they are trying to accomplish. It's very easy to just get up, start answering emails, answering phone, go to meetings, do all of these things that are almost happen to us by default, but they are not in alignment with who we are. So if you were to measure going to meetings, making phone calls, returning emails, and felt like you were successful, you would be successful at that task. But does that matter in the overall health of your organization and your family? If your actions are not in alignment with your goals and values, you're going to, just like a car that's not in alignment, you're going to end up in some sort of a spiritual, psychological, or physical ditch. In that, if you're going to reach your goals and live your values, then many of the actions you take daily have to move you in that direction. So what you measure matters. And the thing that you need to step back and do is, and ask is, am I in alignment? Is my life in alignment with the things that really matter? The sixth is very important because what you measure matters, so then you better measure key results. What would be some of the key results for which you and I ought to be measuring? First of all, our values. I don't know what your values are, nor is it my job to ascribe or to hand you values. Here's a list of values I want you to take. That they're not, my values won't become your values. They have to be valuable to you. Thus, they are values. So, if you say you you value honesty and integrity, but the people at the workplace have heard you fudge and cut corners and do things that go against that, that's not being in alignment. It's not just enough to say something. It's just not enough to tell what your values are. You have to have them aligned. So I would ask you, find some measuring stick to tell whether your actions reflect your values. Let's go to goals. As I just said a moment ago, goal setting is important. Writing them down is important. I've given entire podcasts on this subject, except to say this. I never really started achieving a lot of my goals until I took my eye daily, not just from the goal, but to what is an actionable event that I can do today in a short burst of time that over time will multiply in importance and will be able to get me to that value. When I wanted to lose weight and get healthy, I then quit measuring that, but measured what do healthy people do. And I found 2 or 3 things they do. And I made my mind up that for this many days this year, I'm going to do this activity. So I began to measure the gains rather than the gap. Yes, there, when I started, was a huge gap from where I was to where I wanted to be. But as I took these actions, I was actually getting my daily and weekly and monthly calendar in alignment with my goals. Measure your key results. For most businesses, there is a bottom line. We can say all sorts of things, but if you're about to go bankrupt, you're not going to be able to keep in business very long. So we can ignore it. We can say it's not important, but there is a financial component to what we're doing. I think you need to, another key result area might be your commitments. What are you committing yourself to? Are you actually keeping your commitment? It's one of the things in recent days that I'm wondering about, because we often overcommit ourselves and then learn to live with the consequences. So measure the key results. Have I committed to certain things, and am I living by those commitments? Another way that you need to find to measure is am I improving? Am I getting better? Doesn't mean you're angelically perfect. It doesn't mean that you don't ever make a mistake or you don't experience setbacks and disappointments. All of us are going to get off track. That happens. Life is filled with interruptions. There will be the flow of events over which you and I have little to no control over. But one thing we do have control over is, am I trying to improve? Am I taking, again, little reasonable actions and activities, daily, weekly, monthly, that I am improving in my leadership? The seventh and final one that we'll talk about today under what you measure matters is, are you resolving issues and conflicts? Remember, these situations normally do not get better on their own. That's why you're there. And a part of your description of what you are supposed to be doing is to help resolve conflict. Don't be a leader who just their mere presence seems to exacerbate conflict and cause conflict to explode exponentially. We are there to try to help. And if there's an issue at work, an issue at home, an issue at church that needs to be resolved, and you know it, then you have to prayerfully take the action to do your best. If there's a conflict that needs a resolving, then you need to step into the void and do that. Does it mean that everything will be resolved as you would like it to be? I wish I could promise you that, but that's not true. Will every conflict end satisfactorily for all involved? No, that's why they call it conflict. But you have to attempt to get things resolved. And so what you measure matters is, are you solving the problems you were brought there to solve? You have been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today, my friend, this was like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts, please, pretty please, subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom. If you could go right now and leave a rating or write a brief written review, it will enable other excellent people just like you to find this podcast. Until next time, remember, my leadership friend, you are doing better than you think you are. You really are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying have a great and blessed day.